Jak ktoś potrzebuje jakiegoś środowiska, dokumentujemy to. Dzisiaj wielki dzień. Polacy za minutę i 40 sekund pokażą, co robili przez ostatnie... Nawet nie wiem, czy to był rok, czy to były 2 lata, chyba ponad rok, bo chyba... Kiedy to był ten Keanu? Na ostatnim E3, więc cokolwiek zobaczymy. Jak bardzo jestem emocjonalnie roztrzęsiony po skończeniu The Last of Us. Oglądam sobie teraz pasję Gibsona, żeby odpocząć od tej brutalności, która była w The Last of Us. Tak, tyle. Są nowe sterowniki do Nvidii. Ty, Komorowski, pisałeś mi o tym. Muszę je zainstalować. Zapomniałem, teraz zainstaluję. Więc jakieś oczekiwania? Tak szczerze, żadnych. To jest pocieszające. Nie mam absolutnie żadnych oczekiwań. I tyle. Gra dopiero tak wychodzi gdzieś tam listopad, grudzień czy przyszły rok, więc... Hej. Zobaczmy. Czy widziałem auto JRP na emerytale? Nie wiem, kto to jest, przepraszam. Pisze Jaronek. Jeszcze 30 sekund. I wszyscy... Ktoś mówi, że dźwięku nie ma. Nie ma dźwięku? Nie ma tego sygnału, który leci z tego? Dobra, ktoś jest ten, okej. Okej, wystraszyłem się, przepraszam. Czy widziałem fajny system PPE? Chodzi o ten Ghosty Tsushimy? Mogą być fajne. Okej, 30 minut i Fajrant. Brzmi jak rap cyklosucha.
Hello and welcome to this, the very first episode
Kim
of
ty
My
jesteś?
City Wire, a brand new series from us at CD Projekt Red, where we'll be talking about all things Cyberpunk 2077. For today's episode, we'll be starting with a brand new trailer. One of our developers will be joining us to help unpack everything you're going to see. We'll have some news, an announcement about a secret collaboration. We'll be taking a look at some brain dance gameplay and welcoming back our developers just to have a chat about everything you're going to see. But there is one more thing. Media all over the world have been getting hands-on with Cyberpunk 2077, and when this episode finishes, you'll be able to go and check out exactly what they thought. So, let's get started. It is time to take a look at our brand new trailer, and after that, our lead quest designer Pavel Sasko will be joining us, because I've got a feeling you're gonna have a few questions after watching this.
Straszne lanie wody już zaczyna.
Let's take a look.
Znaczy, że może będzie ciężko. Czyli jesteśmy tylko dlatego. Ten trailer, to będzie wszystko, tak?
Love this town. The city of endless opportunity. Ready to get your cherry popped? Yeah, come on.
City like any other, just bigger.
No, mano, not just any other city. Legends are born here.
The major leagues. We're only here because Dex is pulling the strings. Doubt that puts us in the same league as them.
But we are. They just don't know it yet. But if you got the cojones and you know how to use them, you can do damn near anything.
Unless you catch a bullet.
Even then, you go out with a bang, right?
You know, you can make heaps more eddies as a motivational speaker.
Yo, Mr. V, a pleasure.
So what's the gig, Dex? You meant to come out in one piece? How about we go over the plan?
There's this prototype tech, a biochip to be precise.
Kurde, taki zwiastun z gatunku pierdoły niestety.
We are robbing some heavy hitters.
Thought you could blackmail me, fucker?
High risk, high reward. First rule of the afterlife.
Ka-ching, baby.
Goes without saying, we do this on the hush. Ideally, no bodies, not a one.
Sounds simple enough.
He's lit, assholes!
Is it gonna be dangerous?
Don't you worry, mi amor. We're bulletproof. Get your ass moving now!
What the fuck just happened in there?
Can't stop digging Night City.
Fucking major leagues. Happy now, Jackie?
Yep, that's fucking high!
Chcecie głośniej? Jeszcze myślałem, że za cicho, przepraszam. A to już... To?
Dex, what the fuck?
Gameplay.
Risk it, V.
And you, who are you? Fuck.
So the trailer contains footage from the game's prologue only, but there was an awful lot in it. So Pavel, why don't you try and help us unpack everything that we just saw?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely, I can try. So what you have just seen is only the prologue of the game. So that awesome stuff is only happening in the first few quests. What the trailer shows you is really our stage, the Night City. You know, this gigantic city built of 6 completely unique districts, surrounded by the 7th one that we call the Badlands. As a player, you are meeting Jackie. Jackie's your friend. Now, they together are trying to reach out for something that is very precious. They are trying to reach out for this chip of immortality, this gateway to eternal life. Jackie introduces you to fixer Dexter Deshawn. He's a very important person in a social ladder of Cyberpunk. He is able to provide the player with various jobs and contracts to be able to gather money, to be able to modify their bodies, push themselves to the limits, to put their hands on the chip. But as you can expect, not everything goes as planned, and but to see it, you will have to play the game.
There are an awful lot of really cool things in this trailer, and there's a few that I would just love to talk about a little bit more for the people at home. So let's start with talking about a gang called the Mocs. Now, we see a few flashes of them in this trailer. I personally think they're really cool and one of my favorites, but can you give us a little bit more information about them?
Oh yes, so the Mocs is one of the gangs that player is going to interact with throughout the game. The Mocs is the gang that has been formed in 2076 after death of Elizabeth Borden. She was called Lizzie. Now, she was an owner of a brothel and former sex worker, and she was protecting working guys and girls from harassment, from abuse, and the gang is really continuing her mission. And as a player, you are going to interact with that gang, meet multiple different NPCs, and craft your own relationship with them, and understand what they are all about.
So earlier on, you did mention a 7th district, a place called the Badlands. Now, we saw a few shots of this in the trailer, but I'd love for you to give us a bit more detail about the district outside of the city walls.
Okay, so the Badlands is this like dead, dried out space going around the whole Night City. And as a player, you'll be able to traverse that space in your car or motorcycle. This is a space that is inhabited by the nomads. Nomads are living in different families, and they are traveling across that space in convoys made out of the cars and motorcycles. And as a player, you'll be able to traverse and access different type of open world content that has been prepared specifically for you to get that awesome feel of the Badlands as an area.
In the trailer, we also saw like a completely metal creature. Now, he didn't look like he was from the Maelstrom gang. This looked like something else. So please tell the people at home, who is this giant metal monster?
Okay, so that big dude, that was Adam Smasher. He has been introduced in pen and paper in Cyberpunk 2020 by our senpai Mike Pondsmith. Adam Smasher is a fully converted cyborg. He was always a loyalist of Arasaka. And time has changed, and in 2077 he had to find his own space in Night City, but to find out you'll have to play the game.
In this trailer, we do see some flashes of a Ripper Doc called Victor Vector. I think if people have watched our previous gameplays, they might remember him. But I'd really like for you to give the people at home some more information about what Ripper Docs are and how they'll be interacting with them when they play Cyberpunk.
So Ripper Docs in our game, they are surgeons. They are like a specific type of a job in the social ladder of Cyberpunk. They are accustomed and specialized in replacing limbs to the metal ones. They can basically update your body, enhance your body, change you into this walking war machine. And as a player, you are going to meet different kind of Ripper Docs in the game, craft your own relationship with them. Some of them are like important characters for a story. Through that, you will invest eddies that you're gathering to turn your body into this tool that allows you to survive on the streets of Night City.
Pavel, thank you so much for joining us. I know you'll be back later in the episode because you're going to be helping us to analyze the Braindance gameplay. But before that, we do have some news to share. Earlier in the year, we announced that if you pick up Cyberpunk 2077 on Xbox One, you'll be able to play it on Xbox Series X when the console launches. And just in case you missed it, it will be the same for PlayStation players as well. If you pick up Cyberpunk 2077 on PlayStation 4, you'll also be able to play it on PlayStation 5 when the console launches. And that's not all. There will be a free upgrade for Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, but we'll have more details on that soon.
Tonight's city.
Before we reveal our first look at the Braindance gameplay and welcome back our developers for a chat, there is just one more thing we want to announce. Something that we've been working on in secret for a while. We are very excited to announce our partnership with Studio Trigger and Netflix to bring you Cyberpunk Edgerunners, a standalone anime set in the Cyberpunk universe, which we've been working on for some time now. Edgerunners is due to launch in 2022, but for some more information, let's go to the team in Tokyo.
Hi, my name is Saya Elder. I am the Japan-based producer for Cyberpunk Edgerunners. What I do basically on this project is that I am a fixer, to put it in the words of the Cyberpunk universe. We are a game company. We are a bunch of nerds, and wherever there are nerds, there's going to be anime fans. So it was always a dream for us to make anime. When we began this project, we were certain that we didn't want to make a recreation of the game. Cyberpunk Edgerunners is a standalone story set in the same universe. The stage is still Night City, but everything else is totally new. New characters, new story. I do like to think that it's going to be a great gateway for newcomers to come and check Cyberpunk game and also the Cyberpunk genre as a whole. Right now we're in Nakano, which is one of the biggest anime meccas of the world. I'm going to take you to Studio Trigger right now because we have the wonderful opportunity to talk to the dream team that will be bringing you this anime.
こんにちは。トリガーの代表取締役の大塚です。
監督の今石です。
キャラクターデザインを担当する
アニメwas a mistake。
ゲームのサイバーパンクのファンの方、今回初めて触れる方両方に満足していただけるようにアニメを作るつもりです。よろしくお願いします。
今回はそのサイバーパンクという僕らが10代の、一ファンにしか過ぎなかった頃に生まれたジャンル、そういうジャンルのものをまた、時代が何周もして作れるというのが非常に楽しみです。
トリガーも10年ということで、監督に今石、キャラクターデザインに吉成というトリガーの最強の布陣で、トリガー10周年にふさわしい作品にしていきたいと思います。お楽しみに。
No fajnie, fajnie, fajnie. Jeszcze tylko, że będzie w szkołach za darmo i...
Now it is time to show you some gameplay of Braindance. This is a feature that you'll experience when you play Cyberpunk 2077. Braindance is essentially a recording of somebody else's experience. It allows you to relive their sense of sight, smell, touch, and even hearing, all thanks to a special device. After the gameplay, I will be welcoming back Pavel Sasko, and will also be joined by Patrick Mills, our senior quest designer and all-round lore master, who will be helping to answer your questions and give you some explanation on how you'll be interacting with Braindance when you play Cyberpunk 2077. So, let's take a look.
Plan's simple. Do nothing odd.
Quest is Wiedźmina.
You go in, snatch the cash, get out, and we sell the BD to those psycho freaks from the studio.
Got it.
And remember, everything on full blast. They'll spot us extra for a wicked adrenaline high.
Okay, on you go.
Down! Everybody! On the ground! I want to see you kissing the flooring! Money! Now! Or I will fucking drop you! I swear to God! Well, yeah, hey... now! Before I blow your fucking head off!
Okej, to jest filmik w grze, tak? Z tego co rozumiem. Tak, i teraz będzie śledztwo z gatunku Geralt.
Slow, deep breaths. Your cortisol and adrenaline spiked, but the soft activated your hormone blockers. Nothing happened. You're alive and well.
That was too much. Could feel the guy's pain, his stress, his hope. Hope wrapped up in something else.
Mm-hmm. Probably took a booster just before. You'll be fine. Got everything set up? Let's switch over to editing mode. I'll sever the link to the BD Roller's sensory array. You'll be able to look around freely. Whole scene's yours. Full cam control in analysis mode, so move around, zoom in and out, whatever else you come up with. Think of it as your own little sandbox. So, analysis mode, you control playback. Can even pause when you feel the need. Then you use the editor console to unpause. Try it.
Plan simple. Do nothing odd. Don't get creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out. And we sell the BD to those psycho freaks from the studio.
Got it.
Preem as hell, right? Well, that's not all. You can speed things up or rewind, whatever you like. Give it a try. Rewind, roll it back to the top. All good, neat. Now try fast forwarding a bit.
Plan simple. Do nothing odd. Don't be creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out.
Okay. You can also reset the recording. That'll take you right back to the beginning. Try it. Now for some fun. This here's why you came in the first place. In analysis mode, you get to view and even scan details of the enviro recorded by the BD Roller.
To jest pokaz dla mojej
Focus on the
mamy.
heat, the gun this gonk gets from his buddy at the beginning. Now scan it.
Lewym się chodzi,
Do nothing odd. Don't get creative.
prawym
You go in,
rozglądasz.
snatch the cash, get out. And we sell the BD to those psycho freaks from the studio. And remember,
Okay, right here. Excellent. Let's move on. Now heads up. In analysis mode, you can ferret out background noise and conversations if the roller got close enough. This tech records everything, every little detail, even the sights and sounds the roller was never aware of. To see the sources of the recorded sensory signals, switch to the audio layer in the editor. Go ahead and try that now. Okay, good. Now you should see several sound signatures in the store. Choose one and hone in on it.
Pack of 6, case of Brosif, and a couple of zappers.
Okay. We have a deal today on 2 flavors. Curry and
Down,
surf and
everybody!
So, any thoughts?
Unbelievable. Seriously, like what's happening right next to me.
Yeah, it's how BD recording implants work. They pick up everything, all the elements in the background. Then an editor tweaks them, makes them pop. Keep playing with the sound, explore it a bit. We'll move on when you get bored.
Wanna see you kissing the flooring? Money! Net!
Sometimes you can analyze extra layers in the raw, stuff the roller's cyberware picked up.
Fajnie, że widzimy interfejs w końcu.
Ev's got Kuroshi optics that grab infrared, meaning you should be able to grab heat signatures from her recording.
Huh. Hella nice.
Scanning works on peeps, too. Walk up to the wounded chick. Try scanning her. Alright, next thing. Scroll forward to the part where our artist gets a lead injection.
Or I will fucking drop you, I swear to God! Well, now, fucking head off!
See that? They shot him and he never saw it coming. But you will. Here it comes. My favorite part of the game. See the blinking thing over the entrance? Surveillance cam. Must have caught our shooter. You'll see in a sec. Cam feeds to the screen behind the clerk. Roll back to where the screen's in the kid's field of vision, then scan it. His own Chumba shot him. Probably planned to all along. Must have got a nice slice of cred on the black market for a BD like this. BD freaks are ready to pay a preem for a real flatline. Anyway, if you've seen enough, you can exit. Yeah, it's impressive, right? It's too bad most of the BDs we do here are only good for flogging the log.
So Braindance is a pretty big part of the Cyberpunk universe. It's not just something used for adult films. There is an awful lot to it. And there's two sides I'd really like you guys to help me explore. First is the lore, so how this actually fits into the universe. And then there's the gameplay side, so how players will be interacting with it. So Patrick, could you tell us more about the lore of Braindance?
I would love to. So in the world of Cyberpunk 2077, Braindance was invented way back in the early 2000s at UC Santa Cruz. It was developed as a way of recording a person's experiences and then playing them back for someone else so that they could relive them as though it was happening to them. It was originally used for things like therapy and prisoner rehabilitation, but by 2077, it's become this global media industry, including things like movies, mass entertainment, things like that, video games, some interactive things, and of course, adult fare as well. Now, in our game, we deal a lot with black brain dances, or XBDs as we call them, and there are different types of those, but the one that you saw in the trailer just there was a flatliner. Now that's where the person recording it actually dies during the recording. And it's popular with sort of an illicit kind of a thrill, but a mercenary can also use them for various things, and you'll see that in the game, of course.
And from the gameplay perspective, we have been working a lot throughout last years trying to figure out the best way how to use the braindance in the game as a mechanics. So what we have settled on is this braindance editor mode. As a player, you will be able to run the braindance in the editor mode and see different clues that have been registered on the peripheral of given actor. Now, as a player, you can slide on the timeline of that recording back and forth, trying to uncover different clues. And that clues are actually telling a story in the game. So as a player, you will run different investigations that will lead you to different mysteries, and you will uncover them actually using that braindance as a mechanics in the game.
So as Pavel was saying, we use braindance as a storytelling tool. It's not a collectible. It's not something where you're going to go in and you're going to play it and you're going to be like, I've seen this before. What we use braindance for is to give you a keyhole into the life of the residents of Night City. And we can explore things like childhood trauma, religion, various philosophical ideas in a way that you might not otherwise experience in a story about a mercenary on the tough streets.
So we've tried to talk about some of the aspects that we think the community will find really exciting, but you know, while you're both here, I'd love to know, what is it about Cyberpunk that you guys are really excited for? Patrick, why don't you start?
Co lubisz? Lubię roboty.
One of the things that I'm most excited about in this game is the characters and the way they interact with the world. We've got this really interesting world that stretches all the way back to the Cyberpunk 2020 source material and all of these events and all of those things, but those don't mean anything unless they connect with characters. And so when we come up with a character, we start with their function. What is this person? What do they do in the story? But we don't stop there. We go back and we figure out, what was their childhood like? What was their upbringing like? What kind of obstacles did they face in this harsh reality? And did they overcome them? And how did they overcome them? Or did they not overcome them? And why? And you can see all of those things in their environment, in their dialogues, in sort of how they operate in the world. And we come up with that for all of our characters. Now, you look at someone like Victor Vector, and you're going to see stories about his past in his environment and in his dialogue. You know, we come up with that stuff even if we don't use it in the game, because it helps inform us as to who these characters are.
And for me, I would not be myself if I would not say that I'm the most excited about our quests. Like with our Witcher 3 team, with Patrick and like everybody that has stayed with us since the Witcher 3 time, we really have grown so much. We have learned so much, and we have used all that experience to put them into the quest that we have made. And you will not find really a filler in this game. Like, everything has a meaning. Like, we put so much effort into making sure that everything is rewarding, is interesting, is talking about characters, as Patrick said, is talking about worlds, is talking about emotions, like touching the player in a really, like a real way. And I just can't wait to find out what you think.
Pavel, I know you mentioned story and quests and writing quests, and when I was last in the studio, I had a look and I saw a notebook on your desk, and I would love for you to show everybody this notebook.
Okay,
Od mamy
you
dostałem.
asked for it. So this is my notebook. It says salsa quest designer. The reason is because I dance salsa. and I'm a quest designer, so you know. So I started this notebook actually when we were really starting Cyberpunk. At the very beginning, I wrote like a first note, and it says pretty much something along the lines of that we're starting with a prototype. And then, you know, I kept on basically noting things that we've been working on for like next years. I remember once when our concept artists actually approached me, and they said that they want to take a look on my notebook. I was like, what for actually? And they took some pictures and they told me, yeah, well, you know, because we are looking for a reference material for notes of a psychopathic killer. Yeah, well, you may find maybe some of my notes in the game.
Pavel and Patrick, thank you so much for joining me. I'm pretty lucky because I have read some of the stories that you and the team have written for Braindance, and I'm pretty excited for people to discover them. But before we do finish today's episode, there is just one more thing we'd like to talk about. Earlier in this episode, I mentioned that media have been getting hands-on with the opening of Cyberpunk 2077, and they should be posting their impressions right about now. And if you missed anything from today's episode, don't worry, we'll be uploading everything to our channels very soon. And finally, on behalf of everybody at CD Projekt Red, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us for this, the very first episode of Night City Wire. But don't worry, we'll be back with episode 2 in just a few weeks. So, we shall see you soon.
Stadia. Fajnie, fajnie, strata czasu. Obejrzeć tylko zwiastuny i tyle. Poznaj moją rodzinę. Szkoda to wrzucać w ogóle na na YouTube'a chyba. No widzimy, że gra coś tam chyba już działa, tak? Ale strata czasu straszliwa. Że podkręcają, a tak, rozumiem to z punktu widzenia wszystkiego. Ale to było tak bezwartościowe. Tak pusty pokaz. Dowiedzieliśmy się coś, co można powiedzieć w 2 minuty, że będą misje retrospekcyjne, jak w wielu grach w sumie. Więc spoko. Tak. Ale oprócz tego masakra. Czy te gameplaye, które wypływają z Cyberpunka, tam myślicie, one to są gameplaye, czy... Zobaczmy, tu jakiś zachodni człowiek grał 5 godzin. Aha. Morda. Okej, jest coś ciekawego. Jest panel... Tego nie pokazywali już? Tworzenie Lachona i człowieka? Chyba to niestety już było. Kurczę. Więc boję się, że chyba nic nowego pokazywać nie mogą. To ze zwiastuna wszystko. Tak, chyba tylko pozwolili im pozwolili im pograć, nie nagrywać. Chociaż moment, tutaj latanko. Nie, może moment, tego nie było nigdzie. I o tym, że nic nowego oprócz wrażeń. Latanka samochodem chyba nie było. Nie? Chyba, że się mylę i to było w tym poprzednim tym. To było teraz, tak? To strzelanko takie słodkie. Chyba dostali tylko zwiastuny do przemontowania. Było, okej, to było, przepraszam, dobra. Czyli takie no niedobrze, ja mogę to nagrać. Mi się wydaje, że wiele by nie wyszło, że ściemniam. Okej, to szkoda. Że gameplay leci, mówi Max Spawn.
So again, completely different missions based on life paths, so you really sort of get 3 games here in one. And obviously they intersect at certain points, but you can do 3 unique playthroughs with different story content in them, which is just kind of insane to me to see. I think everyone obviously gets the same core missions. The brain dance that we'll talk about when we get to footage of that was a really interesting experience, sort of playing through that. But again, everyone has sort of different parts. The prologue of the game is really sort of the first part that we got to play. As I said, the trailer and whatnot came from that prologue piece. And that is, I think I believe everyone has the same first mission in the prologue, which is the pickup. And that's basically Jackie and V, the character of Jackie, who I don't think we've seen in the footage yet, but Jackie you'll hear more about. Actually, sorry, I talked about Jackie. Yeah, we showed Jackie. Sorry. So Jackie and V basically team up, and they're kind of together for the prologue. One thing is Keanu Reeves' character.
Czy będzie grany Cyberpunk na streamie na premierę? Jak dożyje, to tak, pewnie. Najwyższy jedziemy z psami. No, tak jak w tym.
Jackie and V basically start the game and go through a lot of the prologue together as sort of plans, and they're looking to kind of enter the mercenary world in Night City, and then Dexter Sean, who you guys saw I think last year in the E3 trailer, guy big smoking cigarettes and stuff like that. He works with them, and they kind of work together on this sort of initial heist. So that's sort of something that they need to kind of figure out and work together on. And that's really where sort of like things start out. Everyone has a bit of a different playthrough based on kind of who you are, but you make choices, and that's the thing is with this game, like there are multiple ways to go through things. There's side missions, like you would expect from a CD Projekt Red RPG.
Z tego co widziałem, to bardzo mi się nie podoba ta walka. W sensie to jest strzelanie do worków na amunicję. To jest chyba to, co widzieliśmy niestety.
You can stealth through a factory, you can engage in combat, you can shoot your way out, you can go a bunch of different ways, but there are definitely some stealth things, and there's a pretty fun training mission.
Że było jechanie i strzelanie. Jak to się tutaj robi? Tak, widzimy tutaj. Tutaj Geoff się pojawił.
And it's not just, three of the characters.
Serious when I came in. You said
this
you were
market,
sure.
and you basically play through, and again, it's like I can talk about the weapons and.
Okej, to są te Badlandy.
This looks like it's a nomad playthrough. So this is not content that I actually got to play because I picked.
Że będzie jak easy z auto-aimem na easy. Nie no. Mi się wydaje, że to będzie podstawowym problemem to, że będzie jednak worki na amunicję.
Different initial start to the game, which again, like you think of the scale of an RPG that is this big, the fact that these origin stories are entirely unique for each player is like just baffles me. So the Nomad playthrough, just so you know, the Nomads are, you're kind of more of a lone wolf. You're kind of on the outskirts of the city. This place.
Czy cała nadzieja będzie taka, że melee będzie spoko i będzie wykończenie po cichu? Bo widzę, że strzelanie będzie mnie denerwowało.
And you're sort of, as you would imagine, kind of like you've got cred, you've got connections, you're street smart, and you're kind of ambitious, but you're kind of, a little bit of a rebel, street kid. The Nomad's a little more rogue, and corporate obviously is, it's corporate. That's why I picked it. That's what the
Tak, mi się wydaje, że będzie Far Cry.
There's three potential backstories that you have in the game, and your choice directly affects the beginning of the prologue, but it also has implications as you play through the game. So as I was playing through, there were certain dialogue choices that would pop up, and they would say, "Hey, this is the corpo dialogue option." So because I was a corpo, that allowed me to have that dialogue.
Gdzieś to musi być bez tego gadania. Kurczę, niestety.
As you play through, you'll find that everyone kind of has has a different experience with the game, which is pretty amazing and crazy. So again, this is stuff that I didn't get to play because I was Nomad, but that sort of is like
będę przecież Fallouta 4, tak.
Nomad playthrough options, which is cool. And again, you can see here actually on the screen, it's like a Nomad option. So this is again a mission that I didn't get to do, but the scale of the world really blew me away. The level of detail blew me away, and it's just a place that you want to live in. And again, I love how fresh it feels, and that may seem kind of weird in a way, but it's just like so many games now. I feel like we have sort of either they're a sequel or they're kind of like you can feel the forefathers of other games in them, and it's like, yeah, sure, it's slightly different. But
wszyscy dostali te same gameplayki, co gdzieś czysto dostać i nakręcić swój własny materiał.
Gameplay style, and this game just feels like incredibly unique and different in terms of what it's like to play, and the world feels so fresh. And I really just I wanted to explore everything in it, and that was just a really new feeling, I think, because there are not many games these days that have that level.
Okej, mamy interfejs.
And the voice acting and the characters.
Interfejs z Wiedźmina, tylko że troszkę reskinowany.
Compelling, and every character I met, you were like, I want to know more about this character. I want to know their backstory. I want to understand more about them. It's not like, oh, here, some games it's like there's a tier of characters which are really well done, and there's another tier which are just kind of like the NPCs. Like everything here feels so well designed. Now this is some kind of combat, so again, this is not a sequence that I played.
Tak, interfejs na Z jest.
Let me talk a bit about what the combat feels like, because this is a first-person game, and first-person RPG, right? So it's more in the vein of back in the day, like a System Shock or a Bioshock. What does it feel like? The gunplay to
Idę w mele. To będzie mnie tylko irytowało, to ci ludziki, które wytrzymują 200 trafień.
Slower and more methodic style of gunplay than a game like a Doom. Kind of reminded me, and I don't know if you guys remember this game, Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay back in the day, but it was a game that was mapping in on Xbox, and it was first person, but it was done kind of in a more deliberate style and methodic style of gameplay. And this obviously is more kind of, heavily action oriented than that, but the gunplay is different, and I played it again over streaming technology on PC, so I can't fully judge it, and I want to be honest with you guys about that I didn't play it like, on a PC, so it's hard to really judge the responsiveness, but it's definitely a more methodic style of gunplay than like a super fast-paced first-person shooter, and I didn't really mind it. It felt like it was different and a little more deliberate, but it was definitely something to sort of get used to in terms of what it's like playing it. But it was very responsive. The combat sequences were really fun, and the combat also, there's hacking that's involved, right? So you can go in and sort of hack screens.
Jest absolutnie spoko, tak? Ale tu się będzie można dowalać do tej gry. Jak ktoś gra dla świata i fabuły, to będzie zadowolony.
So again, this is something that I didn't get to play myself. So I'm watching this as well. We'll get to the corpo footage in a little bit, but the combat felt really good to me, and it felt super cool. This is Jackie, a character that is featured in all of the playthroughs, and he's kind of really with you.
Tekstury tej brońki, zwróćcie uwagę. To jest jakiś build działający. Oświetlenie, tekstury dłoni i tak dalej.
Sort of, you grow to know him no matter what life path you choose, and he becomes sort of a trusted friend and partner to him, at least in the corpo playthrough. But I think in the other playthroughs you actually
Okej, tutaj dochodzimy do tego momentu, który już widzieliśmy, przy tym policjanci nas przytulają. A w przyszłości... Jeszcze tu jest coś nowego.
in effect sequence that you get to go through, and you're kind of analyzing and figure things out. So again, you come out of this beautiful world. It's only going to look better on the new consoles and next gen. So I think it's so smart of them to bring this out kind of alongside.
To będzie jak z GTA. Boję się, że najlepiej będzie zagrać na jakiś czas po premierze. Model jazdy to wiadomo, poduszkowiec. No ale to jest zastępstwo Polski, tak, więc...
But I thought, overall, it was pretty polished what I got to play.
No, Polish, bo Polacy.
Action sequences, right? I mean, this is stuff right out of, big action games that is sort of in this world. And the fact that you get, really good feeling action sequences with these agents versus you, and then you go into the investigation mode, the level of customization and detail. I don't know if we're going to get to show sort of the perk trees or the skill trees of the characters, and I think that we play with those. I got up to, I think, level 5 in my playthrough of my character, but the amount of depth and the choices, as you would expect, are just absolutely insane. And, you know, improving your abilities and skills. It seems like lots of options there that you're going to get in the game as expected. Hacking was another thing that's really interesting, and the hack sort of scenario is something that is different than I kind of was expecting, but you can hack kind of at any point, really, and you can scan the world to, I think it's the...
Taka misja z GTA typowa, nie? No wiadomo, no.
And you can pick things that you want to hack with the right bumper, and then you kind of go in and you can pick hacks, right? So you can do things like, in one sequence, you can hack a monitor that will then distract the guards, and it'll kind of fritz out, and then when that happens, you know, goes to the hack of the person, and then you basically, you know, they get distracted, and then you can go in and sort of, you know, take them down. So definitely lots of hacking you can do of kind of objects and items in the world and environment. Which one of you is my guy? The other thing is the world has a lot of emergent gameplay in it, in terms of things that you can do and characters reacting to what's happening in the world. That was something that was really, really compelling to me, is just to feel like I could kind of make choices, and I could steal someone's basketball, or I could, you know, even just like watch a TV show. Like there was this talk show, one part of my playthrough, I think it was called Night After Night, and it was just like running on a TV monitor, and something just to watch, and other characters react to you watching it. It's the kind of stuff that you expect, honestly, from like a Rockstar game in terms of the depth and complexity of the world and the density. I think that's one word that I would probably use a lot when
Postacie spoko.
talking about Cyberpunk. It's just like an incredible density to the world and the experience as you play through it. It just felt like, again, every character was someone you wanted to meet, you wanted to know their story, and the entire world felt really lived in, right? I mean, sometimes there are open world games where it's like there's kind of a core path, and then, you know, there's kind of the side characters or the NPCs which weren't really fleshed out. And this game, it's like everything feels like, I mean, the amount of art that went into it and the character design just like blows me away. Like it's literally a game where I would want to walk down every block and go into, you know, every store and meet every character, because there's just so much going on in it. And that's a pretty cool feeling to have when you first start playing a game, is that you want more of it, and you don't want to necessarily just force yourself down the you know, critical path. As I mentioned, like Johnny, you didn't even meet him in the game so far, right? So it was really kind of a story about Jackie and
Wszystko było w Wiedźminie na razie, nie? Ale spoko. Walka wręcz.
So, you know, I remember the CEO of CD Projekt Red last year at E3, and he said that Keanu's character, Johnny, has the second most lines of dialogue in the entire game to V.
Czy Wiedźmin miał FPP? Był mod chyba. Ale oficjalnie TPP, wiem, że to jest żart, ale... No, w lewym dolnym rogu mamy ten, jedzenie, tak? Świat spoko.
It's really well placed and scripted in a way that you don't feel like they're kind of going into story mode and pulling out of it. It all is very seamlessly done, and you know, from the motion capture,
że wszystko już było, ale nie wiem, czemu ci spodziewać nowej jakości po tym. To zobaczymy, jak konstrukcja świata będzie ciekawa i tak dalej. Spadła mówi, żeby to było fajne. To będzie fajne, to będzie spoko gra, tak? Będziesz sobie miał do wyboru. U innego streamera będzie fajnie, to sobie zhejtuje. Ale się pewnie przejdzie, chyba że będzie jakiś skopany gameplay, bo...
This is not necessarily my playthrough, this is just a look at sort of a sequence from the game. And we're entering sort of afterlife here, as you can see.
Że nie będzie tak słabo jak The Last of Us 2. The Last of Us 2 jak na klon Gearsów jest spoko. Ale, o Boże.
You can spread your points across 5 core stats when you sort of first set up your character.
Żeby było fajne skradanko, też liczę na to. No ja będę robił builda na skradanko i ten... Dobre zakończenie, nikogo nie zabija i tak dalej. Obijanie młotkiem główki wszystkim napotkanym ludziom. Istotą. Jezu, musi być jakiś ten hold dla Eli.
about level 5. I did get level 5 in my playthrough. Is kind of where things ultimately kind of ended up for me. But again, everyone has a different play style. I played a little more brute force, more action oriented. There was a little bit of stealth. Sorry, Mr. Kojima, but I was a little more action oriented on this one. But it was really fun. Again, look at this like Afterlife Club. Look at the characters and look at how well placed and how
Żeby fabuła nie robiła debila. Tak, to jest ważne, co Kamil odpisze. To jest najważniejsze.
Yeah, sure it's about like raw graphic power, but it's also just
Siedzi nad krzesłem?
to me at least, and the lived-in aspect of it, that it
Może
really
nie.
feels alive. And this world to me feels live. Like look at just the animations in the background, the characters and the screens and the lighting and all this. And again, you know, we had seen screenshots of this game for so many years and like, yeah, it looks cool. Those are cool
Że lepsze
shots.
lokacje w
It's
Star Citizen, oczywiście.
no, this is
Nawet nie chcę z tego zaczynać.
the game and the experience. And look at these characters, how they talk to you, and it's just like phenomenal. And this is the kind of game that I think is going to become this living world, right? And you think of just the core story experience, but then down the road when they figure out, I'm sure, how to do things that are more multiplayer and experiential around all this stuff, like
Ciekawe jaka jest technologia mord.
something that we're going to be wanting to live in for quite a long time.
Wyglądają spoko. Mordy w Wiedźminie mi się podobały. Że mordy takie seks tam przy kaznodzieja.
I'm sure there's lots of people posting this footage on their own. It's not the only person that does it. But it's really, again, cool to see. Look at this, like even interactions, right? You can take a drink, talk to these guys, and everyone reacts in just such a realistic way.
Woda brzydka.
I'm kind of honestly blown away by the scope of it, and also a little scared that it feels so.
Że po The Last of Us, tak, The Last of Us było super ładne, było giga ładne, ale to była liniowa gra. Więc tam The Last of Us było ile tak naprawdę? Załóżmy 10 super dokładnych modeli, tak? Te wszystkie Joele, Ellie i tak dalej. I potem wiadomo, jakiś tam duplikator NPC-ów, przeciwników. No a tutaj tych ludzików będzie dużo, one muszą mieć z generatora. I wygląda spoko. Czy było coś o Mass Effect Remasterze? Kiedy jest ten dzień Mass Effectu? Wtedy może być coś powiedziane.
So raw and real, just kind of like releasing a bunch of gameplay footage to us to just kind of check out. And again, the Night City Wire was great as like a produced piece, but I hope you guys are just
Okej, to jest to, co wszyscy mówili, że już było, tak? Nie, dobra.
So even here, you can go, grab that guy's ball and throw it out, and all this is like, this is your choice in your play style, right? These are not just like cutscenes that you're kind of watching.
7 listopada jest dzień tego, aha, to dobra, to nie.
Again, the scale and scope of the world, it feels so fresh. And I gotta say, the whole technology angle for an RPG, like first person, like this is exciting to me. This is not, not traditional swords and sorcery. I mean, this is really like, it's GTA meets Blade Runner meets a little bit of Skyrim. I mean, it's got all those pieces.
Tu jest ludzik, który rozkręca ludziki, tak? Nie, dobra,
something just kind of detailed and realistic. So again, heading in here, and this is actually a corpo playthrough. So this is kind of basically what I actually got to.
Że średniak. Średniak gameplayowy, w sensie jakieś mechaniki będą takie sobie, ale tak to napracowanie to jest bardzo duże. Te dodatki będą najfajniejsze. Chyba że wypali im to GTA Online tutaj. Dobra, kurde. Będę szczery. To trzeba pograć teraz takie niestety trochę.